Destroy Lonely just dropped his album, and it feels better than the last, but it also feels like we're at a what now moment in his career. My big question is, where does he go from here? Where does Opium go from here? What's going on, y'all? It's willarmani. Hope everybody's feeling good today. If you are, please make sure to subscribe. Got more content coming on the way. Let's get into today's topic. The first thing I want to talk about is that Destroy Lonely did improve. The Opium label has improved, and it's improved over the last few years, even though not everybody has been in complete love with all of the releases that we've had, and that includes Playboi Carti's album, Ken Carson's, Destroy Lonely, Homicide Gang, all of that. I think that on this recent Destroy Lonely album, we actually had more songs that stood out, especially to me personally, the intro song compared to his last project. I really did like the beats that I was hearing on Love Lasts Forever. I really was liking the production that I heard on that, but it was very repetitive, where although he does work in the same lane on this project, it is different from what we heard before. And we could see from this project, his core fan base is still riding for him heavy. And I think this is just an Opium label thing, where anybody who's been a fan of Carti, Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely is a really solid fan, and they usually stick around even when things aren't that solid. And Destroy Lonely, compared to his counterparts, which I'm gonna say is Carti and Ken Carson, wasn't really looking too high for him. But now people are starting to say, wow, like he really always had it in him. He just wasn't giving it to us at the time. But we have to acknowledge the issues that we're seeing right now. I think it's because we're seeing more mixed reviews than ever. I think a lot of his last two projects weren't really remembered in a positive way. And I do remember a lot of negative reviews at the time. At the exact same time where Ken Carson, his Chaos projects, people were looking at Ken Carson like he's going to make it, he's going to be this huge star. And people were looking at Destroy Lonely like, yo, we don't really like what we're seeing. This recent project has gotten better reviews, but they're still very mixed, where I'm seeing a lot of positive and a lot of negative and not a lot of in between. And if I do see in between, it's straight up that they're hearing mid. I think a big issue with Destroy Lonely, not issue in the sense of he's bad or his music's bad, but it's more so a Opium label problem, is that he, Ken Carson included, they can't separate themselves from Playboi Carti. And good thing and a bad thing, right? Because Playboi Carti right now is the biggest act in mainstream rap. It's just, that's just how it is. You know, he's bigger than any other act this year right now when it comes to mainstream rap. So having him connected to your name is not a bad thing. I mean, even The Weeknd had a tour that was with him, and The Weeknd is a pop star, but he knows like Playboi Carti has a way of getting eyes on people. But I think this also becomes a problem because Destroy Lonely, Ken Carson, they're having issues with separating themselves from Playboi Carti. Not just the aesthetic, but people attaching their names and their music to Carti. It's hard for them to differentiate themselves. And I think now we're gonna run into a problem where fans are going to start to get fatigued of not just Destroy Lonely, but of Ken Carson and of anybody who isn't Carti. Fans are gonna start to get fatigued with the sound if it doesn't evolve and dramatically change. And I don't know if it's going to. Not to say that I don't think it's possible, but I just don't know if they will. I think Destroy Lonely, not Ken Carson, but Destroy Lonely, and this is no hate to him whatsoever, but we're just going to highlight the truth, and he's at the stuck point right now. He's not falling off, but he's not rising either. He's in that danger zone where he's good enough to not fall off, but not amazing to gravitate new fans. So now I want to pose the question, does Destroy Lonely need another hit? Does he need a hit in general, a reinvention, or just more time? I don't know. This is just a conversation we're having. Should he experiment more? Should we hear different production? Should we hear different bars? Because I think the biggest thing with my issue with when I listen to his music is it's good music. It's not bad. It's shit that I put on in the gym, but it's also getting repetitive. It's the same thing with Ken Carson where it was chaos, 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 and like I get it, it sounds cool, and all of the music is good, but my whole thing is, where do we go from here? With Ken Carson and the Chaos line of music, it's great music. We're not knocking the music. It's great music, but where do we go from here? With Destroy Lonely, I hear finally a differentiation in production, but in sonic quality, in repetition, in flows and beats and melody, I'm now at a point where I'm like, where do we go from here? This album to me proved that Destroy Lonely is still capable of making great music. But this next chapter will determine whether he is here to stay for the long term, or if he is going to make the transition into the rest of these underground artists where we're stuck in this what if scenario and we don't talk about them in a few years. I don't think that Destroy Lonely is done. I don't think that Ken Carson is done. I don't think that anybody under the Opium label is done. But I do think that they all need a new spark to keep them pushing forward, gaining new fans, and staying relevant in rap. Do you think that Destroy Lonely is stuck, or do you think that this is just a part of his come up story? Do you think that anybody in Opium is stuck? And do you think that we're going to see more Opium artists? Do you think that we're going to see the artists that we currently have grow? Please let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you guys want to say. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe. I've got more content coming on the way every week. And if you want to follow me or any of my own music, you could do that. Follow me on Instagram, willarmani with 2 eyes. It's been your boy Willarmani. Please stay positive.